All right, this is the Kayo TT140. This is a 2022. This is a great pit bike. I'm 42 years old. I weigh 230 pounds. The only downside of this bike is the suspension. So what I'm going to be doing is swapping out some springs for the front suspension and the rear shock. All right, you're going to need some kind of vise or clamp to clamp that in. I have a 5/16 socket. I already broke this loose, but you just stick down there and rotate this out, this cap off. And once you get the cap loose, you just pull up, and right under there's a nut that is a 16 millimeter. You stick your wrench on the nut, hold that so you can remove the top cap completely. All right, once you got your cap off, you can see down in there, and you can actually push up on that and the spring will come out a little bit. So what you're gonna need now, you're gonna need some kind of a cylinder or something, because what you have to do is you gotta flip it upside down like I have on this one and drain all the fluid out. It's important to take a measurement of how much fluid comes out of this, because that's the same amount of fluid that you're gonna have to put back into this, the fork. All right, once you get the fork in the tube, measure out your fluid level. Just go ahead and you stroke the shock a couple times, and that will help get the fluid out. All right, to get the spring off, what you got to do is you got to compress the spring just a little bit. It's not that hard. Just compress it just a little bit, just enough to get that nut right there. I put a little vice grip on the top just to help keep the rod from spinning, and then just take the 16 millimeter wrench and unscrew it. All right, once you get the nut unscrewed, you see the spring decompresses, and you just pull that right out. All right, once you pull that spring out, there is a bunch more fluid inside. So just keep stroking the shaft, no pun intended, and then just that way you can get your total liquid measurement so you know how much shock fluid to put in later. Now I'm just going to clamp this in this vise and let it drain into here. See how much fluid I got right now. Looks like it's about 225, 230 milliliters. So we'll see. All right, the forks I went with are the BBR Motorsports, the KLX140Ls, 2008 present fork springs. They are the same. It's 1 inch outer diameter. However, the inner diameter, I just learned, is a little too small. And what I had to do is I had to shave down the, let me see. I had to shave down this plastic tube. I just shaved down the ribs just a little bit with a Dremel, just enough to slip inside the fork. So, all right. Now I'm going to take my new fork. I'm just going to slip it inside. All right. And what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to pull that rod up. And what I've been doing, or what I've done for the first one, once I get it up there, I just take my vice grips, clamp it up there, put the nut on, and then that way I can start compressing the spring and tightening tightening the bolt with the cap on there. All right, now that I've compressed it enough to get the nut and the cap on, what I'm going to do is compress this down, and right underneath the threads, I'll throw a pair of vice grips on. That way I can run this nut all the way down to the bottom, because that's where it needs to be, so you can screw the top hat on. All right, I've run the nut all the way down. Now it's time to put this top hat on. All right, now that the top hat's on, I'm just gonna decompress this shock and tighten this on. All right, I got the top hat on and the forks are good. And I could already tell these are so much stiffer with the fork oil that I put on, the Maximum 20 weight. So since I'm a heavier rider, I went with the heavier oil, that way a little stiffer, obviously the stiffer BBR spring. And now, time to put it on the bike.